This is really good, Jumanji. Can we get another can of that? Good.
I sent him the list already. We can still, there's still time to add it. Oh boy, I'm not gonna add that person again.
Hi.
Hi, Jan.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'm evidently muted here.
I can hear you.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no, good, you can hear. All right.
I have. Okay.
Do you have to invite me?
I did. You are in. You are now in.
All right.
Hi,
No.
Kathleen. Here comes Andrew.
Oh, I got to turn my camera on, but I won't do that yet.
Okay. Hi, Andy.
What does the camera look like?
It's down in the bottom left-hand side of your screen.
Yeah.
There's a little camera icon, and it would say you should say.
There.
Well,
I'm
there you
on.
go. Good. Oh, that's another person.
Guys,
Hello. Hi,
how are
Andrew.
you?
Hi, Scott.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Nice to meet you. The new way of meeting people.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. It's actually,
It works.
it's been nice to see people. Yes. Yeah.
It is, right.
Okay, let's see. Not sharing. Host only. Okay, that's good. That's set like that.
Are you expecting everybody today, Elaine?
As far as I know, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
They've added some new features to hopefully protect from what happened to us last time. So I'm hoping I do it all correctly. Everybody well?
Thank goodness, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent, Kathleen. Kathleen, did you get the documents? From
Yeah, I'm all set, thank you.
Great. Okay. Hi, Carl. Hi. How are
A
you?
distinguished group of people here.
That's right. We're waiting for Jim and Jay and Gary
Okay.
and Laura. And hopefully Katie, I'm not sure. Oh, and Mike, yes. Okay. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Elaine. Hello, everyone. Scott, we haven't met. Hello. I'm
Nice
Gary
to meet
Berger.
you. Yes, Gary, how are you?
To put a face to it, to that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's nice to do.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hello, Jay. Hi, Jay. Jay. Jay, can we hear you? Hi, Katie.
Always forget that.
Good.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. Hello,
Okay.
everyone.
All right. I'm waiting for Laura and from Mike.
I'm here. For some reason my picture isn't yet.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
I think I'm here now.
Yes, yes. Hi.
Who's Scott Horsley?
I will explain. Stay tuned, Andy.
I shall. Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good. How are you, Andy?
I'm okay.
Gary, you are totally in shadow, Gary. I wonder,
There's a window.
there. Okay, much better, much better. Oops, you went away again.
He's the Phantom.
Yes.
Right, you need to be up closer.
Katie, while we're waiting for Laura, I saw the email today about the emergency rental funding, the workshop
Yeah,
that happened. Can you just give me a little background on that?
sure. So our colleague Shelley Gehring is going to be working with CHAPA, and they're just going to talk about setting up a emergency rental assistance programs and stuff to note when you're using local funds like Community Preservation Act and if a trust was going to set up a program, kind of going, I don't know if you saw in March, we put out some suggestions on using CPA funds and as well as a checklist for developing an emergency rental program. So they're just going to go more in depth into that and answer some questions that have been coming up with communities who are doing it right now.
I mean, is there any way to use community preservation funds without having a town meeting vote for this purpose?
No, I don't believe there is. Yeah,
Okay.
you would need to wait for,
Yeah, because we do already have a rental assistance program. So,
Oh, you do? Okay.
but we need to have it replenished at town meeting this year. So we have our fingers crossed that something will happen.
We have,
Right. Looks like
Sure.
Laura's here now.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't get in.
Oh, it's okay. It's only 1:05. All right, thank you. Everybody's here. This is wonderful. It's great to see you all again. With your permission, if you don't mind, I'm going to, we're waiting for Jim Hood too, but we do have a quorum, so I think we'll get started. If you don't mind, I'm going to change the order of the agenda a little bit to update you on the thinking around the septic study grant that we received. And Laura and Gary have been, and myself have been talking with Scott Horsley, who's working for the town on some watershed and other issues that kind of dovetail with potential issues for the housing development. So Laura or Gary, do you want to set the scene?
Sure. Do you want me to take it, Laura? So Scott Horsley contacted me, I think it was earlier this week, and Scott is hired by the town to work on a watershed plan and specifically about the health and water quality of the harbor. And he contacted me in connection to that, and we talked about the grant we have for designing a septic solution for the 95 Lawrence project. And he was very helpful with some information. And Scott, jump in if I misspeak here. And we've been working on the scope of work for the request for a quotation, the RFQ, that we hope to send out shortly with regard to optimizing the septic system and minimizing the nitrogen level. And Scott actually pointed out that what we are looking for is not at all times below 10, but a average below 10 milliliters of nitrogen. And we are progressing along that. And then Scott raised an interesting idea that we thought we'd throw out to the task force for discussion. There is the possibility of doing a waste treatment plant. What we have previously been talking about is an enhanced, essentially Title V system, where we would use wood chip technology to reduce the nitrogen level, but we would still be adding nitrogen levels to the town and to the harbor. And that's right, that goes with the territory. But the possibility exists, although it's a considerable expense and involvement in terms of the process, to have a, if you will, a cooperative sewage treatment plant that would service the 95 Lawrence project, as well as the school, the police station, the fire station, and potentially residents or businesses in the area. And it's an interesting idea, and I think we've been discussing whether we should expand the scope of work of the grant that we have, the $30,000 grant, to include that idea. And the disadvantage is that it's both much more expensive to put in and more expensive to operate, as well as involving more permitting and planning and time. But obviously the advantage is that we would actually be lowering the amount of nitrogen that would go into the harbor, as opposed to simply producing a lower increase.
All right, Elaine,
Yes,
can I tag into this already?
of course.
Or do you want to wait on questions?
I'm done. So if people have Laura or Elaine, anything, or Scott, anything you want to add at this point?
Well, I'll just, first of all, thank all of you for inviting me to join you today. And I think Gary stole most of my thunder and did an excellent job explaining what we talked about. But if it would be appropriate, and I could give a little bit more background as to what I'm doing and how I think it ties into this project, if that would be helpful.
Sure, why don't you give us a short quick
Yeah,
update.
so I am, as Gary indicated, I'm working for the town, developing a watershed plan. We are using a report which some of you may be familiar with. It was prepared by the Massachusetts Estuaries Program that studied Wellfleet Harbor and all of its associated embayments. And each embayment has a specific threshold which must be met. This is a legal requirement on the part of the town to comply with the Clean Water Act. Many of you may be aware there was a lawsuit a number of years ago to get the 15 towns of Cape Cod to comply, and this is what we're talking about. The proposed project that you guys are working on it, which I applaud, by the way. I'm an advocate of affordable housing, especially when it's done the right way. This project is located in the Duck Creek watershed, which is a subcomponent of Wellfleet Harbor, which unfortunately is the most impacted and difficult to restore of all the embayments. And so your initial willingness and interest in going to an enhanced treatment is great, and I applaud you for that. And I think it's wonderful the town is so far forward looking. What Gary and I talked about, Gary and Elaine and I talked about, was some options. And I guess I can most simply put it, and again, Gary kind of said this, so I don't want to repeat too much, but one option is to install a so-called innovative and alternative system, which will reduce the nitrogen loading at this site. However, the requirement in Duck Creek is to have nitrogen loading go down. In fact, the town is on the hook to make that happen. So this project with a Title V system would raise the nitrogen loading to Duck Creek. With the enhanced INA system that you're talking about would raise it less, but it would still raise it. Ideally, what the town's looking for is projects to reduce the overall nitrogen loading. So one option that Gary and I and Elaine talked about, and he mentioned, is expanding the project slightly from the wastewater standpoint. And maybe if you're going to go to the time and expense of building some sort of wastewater treatment system, and this, in my mind, there's less of a distinction between the enhanced INA and this treatment plant, but we can talk about that, to include some other existing facilities in the neighborhood that are currently discharging using Title V system, which is a high nitrogen load. I think there's an opportunity to come up with a project that actually, I mean, I'm always going for the best possible here. So this project could provide affordable housing and at the same time, not just contribute a little more to the water quality problem, but actually help fix it, which would be, I love that headline. I can see that headline right now in the newspapers. Affordable housing provided and restoration of the harbor. And that is possible. And the way to do it is to build the wastewater treatment system slightly larger than you need and invite your neighbors to participate. That way the neighboring sewage impacts would be significantly less. And I've actually run some calculations on that. And some of the options are the police station, the fire station, the elementary school, which are right next door, of course, and possibly some of the homes in the neighborhood. This requires some creative thinking and engineering, but it has been done many, many times. It's called a neighborhood or cluster system rather than everybody build their own. So I'll stop there, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Elaine, you may have something to add to our discussion, I'm not sure, but thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Kathleen?
Yeah, Scott, nice to see you, Kathleen Bacon. And I'm going to speak now as a selectman.
Excellent.
Not as somebody that's sitting on the task force,
Okay.
but as a selectman for the town of Wellfleet. I am completely against your suggestion. Completely against it. I was completely for the enhanced Title V septic. We've done homework on it. I pushed for this, but I will not support a wastewater cluster treatment system at this particular time at that location for a number of reasons, Scott. One, we've already got an infrastructure cost going into this project of 3.5 to extend the municipal water system. I will not support another significant infrastructure cost to develop a wastewater treatment system. The town of Wellfleet should look at a wastewater treatment system that's impacting the harbor in Duck Creek, right in the central district, smack dab in the center of town. That's been our plan all along, and that's where it should start. Second of all, and Mike Travato can back me up in this particular time, with the crisis that we're going through financially with COVID-19, to attract a developer and ask him to spend more money, it's going to be a really tough thing going forward. This particular development for Wellfleet at 95 Lawrence Road, Scott, is all we've got. It's the only iron in the fire for affordable housing. To strap it or handicap it with all that's going on in our town right now, I can't support it. I appreciate the suggestion. I really do, but not at this particular time.
Kathleen, if I may just clarify one thing, because perhaps I misspoke. My proposal was not to pursue the wastewater treatment plant. My proposal was to evaluate both options. I'm a huge proponent of what you suggested, and I think you know that, the enhanced INA. I think that's a great idea. When I started speaking with Gary and Elaine, and they told me about this grant to evaluate wastewater options, that's when I then thought, well, what are the options? One is the enhanced INA. We know that. We know what we can do. So what might an option be? I guess one option would be just to build a regular Title V and not do that, but I don't think that's a good idea. So that's where I came up with this idea of the neighborhood system. But I want to be clear, I'm not promoting that, proposing that, or advocating that. I simply identified it as what I thought might be something worth studying, not to commit to by any means. But Gary and Elaine asked me some good questions I don't know the answer to. And I thought, like, the study, the $30,000 study, the grant you have, could answer those questions if you want that information. And some of those questions are, well, what would be the big one, I think, is what would be the cost effectiveness of expanding the system to reduce some nitrogen in the immediate neighborhood? And what I said is, well, if it's a lot more cost effective than doing something elsewhere, perhaps the town would be interested in that if it's less costly. Because ultimately the town's going to have to spend money to reduce nitrogen. It all comes down to $1 per kilogram basis. You're right, there are options. We can build systems in the downtown. We can put a permeable reactive barrier in. We're trying to evaluate all those options. It occurred to me that the marginal costs going from the 9,900 gallon INA up to something somewhat larger might be very cost effective in getting that extra nitrogen. Again, I want to clarify, I think this was clear to Gary and Elaine too. I'm not in no way of opposition to this project. I'm wholly supportive of it. And again, I'm thrilled that you're considering the enhanced treatment. My only thought was, if you are going to do a study, which it sounds like you are, here's an idea that could be studied. That's really all. And I wanted to be clear about that because I'm supportive of the project with the INA system, very supportive.
Can I have a question for Laura?
Yeah, I do too. Go ahead, Gary.
Is there any chance that, since we're talking about municipal properties, that this could be folded into the Mass Works grant proposal for the water?
It has been, water and septic have been done in the past and is being done on the Brewster project. They're doing both septic and some water enhancements. I think that all comes down to, what we're talking about dollar-wise.
Exactly.
And how then competitive it would be moving forward with the state. It's less, the 1.6, 1.8, up to $3 million projects they're pretty competitive because they're going up against $10 million projects. If we're pushing it to 6 or 7 or 8, then, you know, we're less we're less competitive. So I think it's knowing what that number is and backing it up with the estuaries report to say this is why we're doing it. We're not just doing it for this project. We're doing it. You know, we have a bigger agenda here.
Scott, do we have the answers to any of the following questions? One, what would be the cost to build such a system? What would be the cost to run such a system? How much nitrogen would it reduce? Where would it be located?
Yeah.
Can we require the adjacent homes to connect to this system? And what would be the cost to the neighbors if they did? Those are just a few questions that I have. Do you know the answers to any of those, or was that?
Some of them, although I think what you just outlined are all important questions, which again I thought would be good scope for the study. But some of them we have some information on. I sent to Gary, I think in Elaine today. I just got it today. An estimate from the vendor, which I've been suggesting as one consideration, this so-called nitro enhanced INA system. And he provided a cost estimate for the system at the 9,900 gallons per day. So that I provided to Gary and Elaine today. On the construction versus maintenance, that information is available. I don't have it at hand, but we could that's something that is easily available. And again, this study that you're talking about doing could, and I would argue should, provide you both capital and O&M costs. I can do that, but another consultant can do that as well. In terms of where, I think the site planning is an important part of this. The site is located on top, close to the top of a hill. And gravity flow is a good design criteria for getting wastewater to a certain point and then using a pumping system from there. So I think looking at the best place as part of the study might be a good idea. If one other thing I'll throw out there, if one did consider the option of using the police, fire, and elementary, depending on the size of the systems, existing systems, leach fields, those leach fields may be able to be used instead of building a new leach field. And under if you do go to a wastewater treatment plant, you could put 4 times the capacity in a standard Title V leach field. In other words, so if there is a system out there that currently infiltrates 2,000 gallons per day, with a wastewater plant, you can put 8,000 gallons per day in there. So what I'm suggesting there is there might be some other advantages to looking at some of these neighboring properties as infiltration sites. And the last thing you mentioned was requiring adjacent homes. That's always a difficult subject, and that's why I've listed, I think the more logical, if one were to even consider this option and have somebody do an analysis of this, I would suggest looking at the municipal facilities first, because it's a lot easier to do that. The homes are always a difficult conversation, although any town that goes through this and is going to ask people to either upgrade to an INA or connect to a sewer, those are challenging conversations. And who pays and how much they pay is town by town. So there are different ways to address that, but I agree with you, or implicit in your question, the hookups with the residences would be the most challenging.
Well, there was one question you didn't answer, but
okay.
You probably know the answer, and you may have already told us, and I just didn't.
What was that? I'm sorry.
How much nitrogen compared to,
yes.
What does it get us down to compared to an enhanced?
Okay, so the standard Title V system generates around 35 milligrams per liter. That's the concentration of nitrogen, okay? The enhanced INA, unfortunately, the system that we're talking about hasn't been fully permitted with DEP to establish a number, but the number we're looking at is 11 milligrams per liter. Okay, that's the proposed number, and it is allowed to be built, I should be clear, even though it hasn't gotten final general approval. And a wastewater treatment plant would get you down to around 5.
Okay,
those are kind of the operational numbers.
So what we are looking at here is the study we want to have done with the grant, not only looking at, I mean, it seems pretty obvious that a straight ahead Title V isn't going to work
No,
for this area. So looking at the enhanced and also looking at the costs and what would be involved in a small wastewater treatment plant. You know, we know in Truro that after the fact, they were forced to take a look at this. So do we feel like including a study of that option in this grant proposal is a good thing to do?
If I can just speak for a sec. I actually like Scott's outside the box thinking. Kathleen, I understand your concerns. You don't want to hold up the project or make the cost prohibitive for the developer. I don't think that's what Scott's suggesting. But I love the idea of piggybacking this concept on top of the original study. I think we can roll it all in together. Started drafting the RFQ for this, and Scott's been helpful with the language on it. I really do think that this is worth pursuing, at least from the standpoint for the study, because that will tell us a lot as where we go from there. I love the idea of tying in the other municipal properties. That's a no-brainer if, again, money notwithstanding. But conceptually, that's a great idea because of their proximity. And then it's just a home run if you can get the neighbors involved with that over time. The difference in the nitrogen here is just amazing. And this is part of our mandate is to reduce this nitrogen loading. So this is a perfect project to at least look at this. Again, not at the risk of it harming the actual project and its progress. Certainly respect that and wouldn't want it to do that by any stretch because housing is very critical to us as well. But these are probably our two biggest issues right now in the Cape is housing and our 208 issue. So I'm certainly for putting that into the RFQ for this study.
Scott, about how long would it take to do that?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, two people were talking at the same time. Now, who was that? Me?
I was wondering how long it would take to do the study, how it would affect our process.
Scott probably could answer that in terms of time that it would take an engineering firm to do it.
Well, I mean, the number that's coming to my mind is like, let me ask a question before I answer, because I wasn't sure what you talked about as part of the scope of this before I started talking with Elaine and Gary. Are you planning to do any on-site investigations like perk tests and whatnot as part of this $30,000 grant?
I was actually going to ask if the $30,000 grant could accommodate that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that eats up a lot of money and time. It's not a bad idea. I actually contacted Hillary Lemos on this, and she's in the process of sending me the septic plans for the police, fire, and school. One of the reasons for that is you've got some very good subsurface information very nearby. And my guess is it's probably, I know for a fact you've got a lot of depth of groundwater, which is one consideration in siting any kind of septic or wastewater. So that is not an issue, and I'm certain of that. As long as the soils are good and permeable, then I think, you may be able to live without the site investigations and make some presumptions, especially if we look at those 3 existing Title V plans and they all look pretty good, which I'm guessing they will. But the reason I ask is that if that's not part of the project, then this is really a cost analysis and a conceptual engineering design analysis. And I would think a time frame is something like months, 3 to 6 months would be adequate to get this done.
With site investigations or without?
Without. Site investigations, depending on scheduling and going through the permitting process, I could extend it a little bit.
I didn't think site investigations was going to be part of this. That wasn't.
It wasn't.
I wasn't sure.
My understanding.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't originally anyway. And I thought with, with the municipal buildings around that you should have enough information on the soils.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there's going to be ledge there,
That's about
Right.
1,000 feet down, I think.
Right.
Laura, I just want to add too that both the police station and the fire station are new. I mean,
Yeah.
everything there is new.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I figured. So they're not, the Title V's are not old, so you should have good information on that.
And I have one more thing just to say to Scott. You know, we know that that side of the highway, that's our highest, one of our highest elevations in town. So
Yeah.
we know that nitrogen is finding the lowest point, and it's coming from there and filtering down into Duck Creek, which
Yeah.
filters into the harbor. So
Right.
this is why I was so adamant about an enhanced system there, because it is
Yeah.
of one of the highest elevations in Wellfleet.
Yes, I agree.
But in keeping with that high elevation, the groundwater is also quite good there.
That's right. Absolutely. Yep.
So I think the decision for us now is not whether we're picking this for enhanced versus the septic system, but whether or not we should expand the scope of our effort to look at the possibility. And I almost think we owe it to ourselves and the town to at least do that if it doesn't significantly increase the cost or the time of doing the study. I also think an answer to Kathleen's point is we've gotten now some cost information that says a basic Title V would cost in the range of $500,000 for this project. An enhanced system would be in the range of $1 million.
$1 million.
So we have to think about where that cost would come from. And then we don't know the cost of this treatment. And the treatment also adds significant ongoing operational costs that we have to take into consideration. But my point is, we don't have enough data now to evaluate it. And all we're looking at is let's gather it for everyone's good as part of this study. And I think that's all we're asking for today for that endorsement.
Okay, so the other question, Gary, would be, and I guess this goes to Scott, will this 30,000 grant be able to cover an expended, study or look at this? Are we going to have enough money? Because we don't have anything out of pocket right now here. This is great. We've got a 30,000 grant. Can we stretch it to include, this expended study?
Laura, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I was going to say it should. I think if you have it an evaluation of the two systems, the enhanced innovation and wastewater treatment plant, and you do, hard and soft costs, operating costs, and then some conceptual siting. We know what the conceptual siting has already kind of been done on the enhanced. It would just be on the wastewater treatment where the best place to put that, assuming that you're going to connect the municipal. I did want to say that, my first impression, Kathleen, was kind of the same as yours, like, oh my God, what else are you going to add to this? Because I know how much these things cost but based on, Truro's experience and even a little bit towards Eastham's experience, if we don't have the answer to this now, we're going to have to get it later. And we have $30,000 to investigate it now. We can go back when that question comes up, and it's going to come up, we can say that we investigated it, and whatever we decided, it's a town decision, because the developer can't take the whole cost of a wastewater treatment plant, either the hard or the soft, going forward. So I think I know it's going to take a little bit more time, but we can't put this RFP out yet anyway. So I would rather have the answers before they're asked than fumbling around and then when it comes up, we have to, the developer or somebody has to get the answer to it.
I'll agree with you, Laura. I will totally agree with you, but I am looking at what the town of Wellfleet's going through right now.
Yeah,
And all our revenue that we expected for fiscal 21
I know,
is gone.
no,
And, you know, I know that a developer won't be the sole, you know, solely be able to bear the expense of this, that if we do say yes to this, it goes on the taxpayer side.
right,
And I cannot, in good conscience, tell you that we can strap a taxpayer or anybody with any extra or additional expense. Everything that we had budgeted for 2021 is now gone.
yeah, I know, I understand that.
So do we know that whether the $30,000 will be sufficient to study this question?
Yes, Laura just said it would.
Scott, I think it will.
And the second question I have is, with respect to Truro, you're talking Cloverleaf, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so are they being prevented from going forward without developing a wastewater treatment?
They're doing, I don't know exactly what they ended up with. I think they ended up with an IA, I think, but I don't know exactly which one, and the town is paying for it.
Okay, all right.
I can't see any reason for not doing the study. It's just more information. We have the money to do it. And, you know, maybe we will find out that there's, you know, if there is a way to do it, and it could be that the Mass Works, and, you know, is there going to be some sort of stimulus money that we are going to be looking at in the future? I think it's worth looking at, and it's also a way to gain more support from the town. The town, the community in general. I think a lot of people care about this issue.
Right. I mean, the whole intent of the grant was to gather useful information that would help the project and help the RFP. As we look at the water and the wastewater now, the town is looking at how this project can help solve two problems that were there before the project came up too. So we're going to really have to make sure that the town supports and makes known that these are issues beyond, but this is a potential way to help too. So
Yeah, to Carl's point, you know, we don't know what the future is going to hold here, especially economically speaking, as we come out of this situation. But you know, there is potential opportunity through stimulus packages if that becomes the norm going forward here. They're going to be looking for shovel-ready projects. Again, we're making huge assumptions there with this, but armed with these kind of studies, it makes it a little easier to go after those kind of monies going forward, if and when they present themselves. So I just think it's I think it's a useful investment.
So it looks, I'm hearing that we have a consensus
Hello?
to go ahead with the study that we'll look at.
Yeah, I'm on a Zoom. Yeah,
IA
thank you. Okay, bye.
wastewater treatment. Do we have a
Sorry, Elaine, could you
that?
repeat that?
Up to 30,000. I think if we say that is the limit of our grant,
yeah.
and therefore the time and the amount has to be limited to that, then there's no downside to that.
Okay. Do we feel like do we need a vote, or we're just in consensus? What do you think, Gary?
I think we can move forward. I mean, I think we are now doing the scope of work for this, and Mike, help me, but do you think we can get this out in the next week or so?
Well, I sent you a draft of what I had. It would be helpful to, I know Laura was going to add some content to that. Love if Scott's willing to take a look at this before we make it street ready. And certainly, you know, value your input on this. But yeah, I mean, we're, there's no reason, we can't keep moving forward with this, sooner rather than later.
I think that potentially the scope of work we have right now should get to the county as soon as possible, because we do have to kind of tie up the process with them before we put out the RFQ.
Yeah, we're really close with that. I think we can get that to them again. Laura, I don't know how much content you wanted to add to that, timing wise on your end.
Yeah, I did add some. I just sent to Elaine and Gary. Sorry, I didn't get it. I didn't tag you, Mike.
I'll send it to Mike right now.
I think it needs a little bit just around, how many meetings is going to be and that kind of stuff. I didn't add. I added a scope for, cost and a little bit more detail of what the evaluation would do and what a deliverable would look like.
Yeah, good.
So.
Okay, I just sent that to you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great. Excellent discussion. Thank you all. And let's move on to our RFP.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you, Scott, for your help with
Okay, I'll sign off. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I'm going to make sure I can bring this up. Oh, come on. Not coming. Where's our RFP?
While you're fussing with that, Elaine, because I missed the last meeting and I'm not sure if these things were discussed. I just want to bring up one thing about the RFP, which is a kind of a big question in my mind, and that is under affordability. The not so advantaged thing says 50% of the housing at 80% value or less. Would we really accept a project that had only 50% affordable housing? I can't picture that we would.
Jan, we changed that. We have changed that.
Well, I thought I read the most recent. Okay, maybe I didn't read the most recent one. Okay, because I can't see that we would accept that, so I didn't know why it would be in there. All right.
Okay.
Gary, I think what we changed was the highly advantageous.
Yeah.
And I think what Jan's referring to is the advantageous.
The minimal and the minimum, both the first category and the middle category make reference to 50% affordable housing. And that just makes no sense to me.
Jan, why don't we go through it, and then when we get to there, we'll certainly highlight that.
Okay.
Okay. So I put it up on the screen. Is everybody seeing it?
Yep.
Okay. So I think we're so close. I only found a few little typos along the way, but let's go through very quickly, page by page, and
Can I,
comment?
Elaine?
Yes.
Kyle just sent some edits, so I guess I don't know if you got his. It might be better to pull his up because it has the edits in it.
Okay. You're asking me to do something technical.
Okay.
I can try that.
If not,
Or you could just go through your edits and see if
Go
that's
through yours.
everything that Carl
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the edits are
typos.
line edits, typos, just,
yeah.
I wouldn't elevate them to, when we go through it, if there's anything that is really content, I'll highlight that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. If you don't mind, we'll just do it as we go. So I don't think we have anything on the first cover page or
No.
the next
No.
page.
I don't think there's anything till, keep going.
Okay, well, my only thing on this page, it's just sort of grammatical, where it's
Okay.
invitation, oh, which paragraph is it? I didn't write down. Oh, the fourth paragraph under invitation to bid.
Yeah,
It says and capacity to carry out a development project that best addressed the needs.
oh, addresses.
Addresses the needs.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also, since all the communication is supposed to be by email, I didn't see Mike's email in there anywhere. We ask everybody to send questions and things by
Okay.
email to Mike,
Okay.
but his email isn't anywhere in the RFP. So it just seemed like that might be a good thing
Yeah,
to put in.
Definitely.
Okay.
Also, you missed something. If you scroll back up a second, there's another typo. At the end of the first paragraph under proposals submission, last line, 7 copies it should be, I think, not copiers.
No, we want those copiers.
We could sell them.
Oy vey, I'll tell you.
They have to.
Budgets are being cut.
It's that tough group.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see that. I see copies.
7,
last
land use
paragraph.
proposal submission selection,
Last line.
the last sentence.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think down to the section number 4, development objectives. I thought we said we would take out the et cetera after the word disabilities.
Oh, yeah, yep, you're right. I was looking for where that was. I saw it in my notes. I just didn't see it in the,
Yeah. Yep.
So Jan, you see under affordability, the second line in blue,
Yes, I do.
does that address your concern enough, or do you want it to be?
Well, I just didn't understand that we would consider a minimum. And therefore, to me, it's misleading to say at a minimum, there shall be at least 50%. I
Okay.
just can't picture that I would be in favor of any project that was only 50% affordable.
So it's in the criteria, the evaluation criteria.
it's in
Right.
both places. This has the minimum, there shall be at least 50%. But that it's preferred that 85% be affordable.
Do we want to change that at this time?
And is that boilerplate, Laura? I mean, is that what it's supposed to say? Is that why?
It's not boilerplate. I think we started at a minimum would be 25 at 80. And then it's town land, so you wanted to go higher than that. And the last meeting, folks said they wanted it 85%. So.
Right.
No, that's highly advantageous. Under advantageous, I think that's what Jan's talking about.
Right. Yeah.
But
Right,
it does say here, do you want to change the language here, I guess is the question.
Well, maybe when we look at the appendix, it's maybe better to spell it there, spell it out.
They have to be consistent. So whatever we say here.
Okay, well,
we
to
gotta say
me,
there.
we would say something in that first sentence about that it is imperative that there be as many affordable units as possible. And then say the town prefers 85% of the units. And not even mention 50%. I mean, I'm not going to belabor it. It's just my opinion, I guess. Affordable housing is so key and important on this site that I would never vote for a project that only allowed 50%. So end of story. You can do what you wish, but that's my opinion.
You have to set a minimum threshold for the
Yeah.
sake of the
The
proposal.
scoring.
and-
You have to have a
and-
minimum for the scoring and you have to have a preferred. So if everything had to be 85%, then everyone would get scored the same. And you need to have you need to have some criteria, set a floor and then set a preference.
Okay, so what if it were 75% of the units affordable and 85% as are preferred? Could we do that?
Sure.
Well, I mean, ideally, they're all going to be affordable in some degree. And
Yeah,
we-
I know,
and
but
we
I
did-
mean,
And we did propose this as community housing, which does have some units that ideally will be a tiny little bit higher. And I think what we understand about financing, I can't imagine anybody could propose one with less, 50% or less that would be financially viable for a developer. I don't know.
right,
Um,
okay.
I'm pretty comfortable with this, but I don't know, anybody else feels they want to change it?
It might just be me.
I think if we're going to change under the evaluative criteria, that advantageous be at least something higher than 50% affordable, but something lower than 85.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yes, but if you're going to do that, then I don't believe, I'm in support of Jan's comment, maybe we should just take the percentage out. Take that whole sentence out.
Yeah, the town prefers.
That'd be fine with me. That would solve the problem.
We'll still have to address it in the criteria.
In the criteria.
Right,
I've already said we should change that criteria for advantageous.
Yeah, I agree.
Up it from 50 to something between 50 and 85.
And that
All
makes
right.
sense. Yeah. But do we lose anything by taking out this first sentence?
No, it'll just be further defined in the evaluation criteria, that's all.
You just want to be as clear as you can when you're putting this thing on the street. It really helps developers to really know what you're looking to do. And so they don't have to go, finding it in appendixes or in the criteria itself. I think that's why you tried to be as detailed in this paragraph as possible to begin with.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just speaking from a procurement perspective.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense if we have it in the criteria that you have it here too, so that on.
Yes, I'm fine with leaving it in.
If you leave it in, we want to change the unacceptable. I guess not. That would be less than 50. Whatever.
Okay.
I don't think it matters. I think the criteria are really the important thing.
Yeah, well, when we get to that, we'll see how we're feeling.
Could I ask something on the next line? The next unit types. What does it mean, unit layout shall emphasize functionality? What are we trying to achieve there?
I think that was where we were trying to talk about kind of comparing it to the Eastham where they were not.
Bradford Road.
I know the origin. I'm just trying, what will the developer reading that, what will he understand?
Good point.
Good point. I mean, I think I further defined it with the kitchens, but I think it was more than the kitchens. But, I don't want to.
Yeah, we're trying to say we want it to be better than.
Yeah, we want it to be nice.
I mean, the word functionality is spelled wrong too, so.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Maybe that's a
that's a
sign.
typo, yeah.
That's a sign.
You could say something like ease of use instead.
Yeah, but that's all in the eyes of the beholder. I mean, I don't
So is
I
functionality.
don't see anything wrong with saying
Yeah.
it. We're not.
Yeah,
Once we get the plans, we'll decide whether we think they're functional,
I don't think it hurts to leave it in. And especially what was the kitchen the big problem with what you saw, or the whole layout?
It was a
Well,
heating unit.
there was also the big mechanical room in the middle of the
Right.
Living room.
living room.
Ah, okay.
All right, why don't we just, we'll move on. I'll-
People put that in your heads, and if you can come
Yeah,
up with something,
yeah.
let us know. We should,
I mean, you could just say, since it's unit layout, should emphasize efficiency or efficient use.
Yeah,
mhm.
Just an alternative.
yeah,
But I agree, functionality, I think, is really hard to figure.
vague, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like affordability by design.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we took out, right? Okay. Under building design and aesthetics, this is such a small thing, but I sort of have trouble with belongs in being in quotation marks.
Okay.
And I've heard a few other, I've had a few responses from people about that, saying it belongs in Wellfleet. What does that mean? I know we've talked about it, and I think it's fine, but I don't know what the quotation marks.
I'll take the quotation marks out.
Yeah, okay,
I think that was just something that followed along with earlier
yeah.
one.
Okay, Carl, any edits on those pages?
I'm just overlooking the editorial things. Laura can, you know,
Yeah.
accept them or not as she pleases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Energy efficiency site. Gary, did you have other language about the 10 milligrams per
Yes,
liter?
as opposed to, it will be level below 10 milliliters.
Yeah,
You
that
have to say
averages.
that the average will be below.
Yeah,
Okay,
got it.
And also, the next paragraph down, I think I've already mentioned, anywhere where it says the town has to be capitalized.
this is a bigger issue, but under the property description, we're under water public hold for explanation of water service and status.
Yeah,
I don't suppose there's any way to address it without waiting till after town meeting. Is there any kind of wording or scenario? I mean, obviously we don't want to rush this at this point because of all the unknowns, but I just didn't know if there's a way to phrase it right now, at least, that would be helpful. Probably.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's too big a question. Too big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kathleen, has there been any movement towards a town meeting date?
Town meeting is slated for June 1st. And it's in the papers today.
Yeah,
Yeah. How we go about doing it, I don't know yet.
Okay. Do we have, is there, for the site context, is there another drawing in here, I forget, that actually outlines that our boundary lines, you know.
Yeah,
around-
I don't remember if it's in there or not. I think it's in the,
It's red.
it's in the attachments.
Okay, okay, great.
So if you just stop at this, the next one, Kyle had a lot of edits in here. So I haven't really looked them over yet. But the ones that I have looked over look good. I'll just fill them in and send them to you.
Under development team?
All under development team. And some of the format for providing it, so.
Okay. That's funny, that's the part I skimmed over.
Mm,
Everyone does, everyone's eyes glaze over for that.
So,
Little too dense.
Yeah.
thank you for diving in, Carl.
Is this where-
Okay,
So this is where, wait, Elaine, under implementation plan and timeline,
Mm,
this is where I thought we had some discussion of changing it to 5 years, but
I think that we added the extension to cover not changing it. to
so,
5
so
years.
don't bother with it.
Right, I think that's what we decided last time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, did somebody pick up that typo in that same, back there in that? Be sure,
Where?
under implementation plan and timeline, third line, yeah, third line. Erp. Will be, you don't need to capitalize it. Implemented
Yeah, right, and there's an extra space.
and extra space.
Mhm.
No idea what Carl sent to. No.
yeah, that was kind of somehow it got formatted wrong.
Yeah, what? No worries.
Mm,
On the land disposition, I just had a
Yeah.
question about this for whenever we potentially have to go over it with the select board and explain things.
Yeah,
So the last paragraph on that page, what would be the scenario that this would happen? If the town determines that the public purpose is best met by disposing of the property for less than fair market value?
I think it's just a legal requirement, isn't it?
What would
Yeah,
cause
right.
that to happen?
well, if you weren't getting market rent, because you have a ground, you were gonna have a ground lease. So if you weren't requiring market rent, then you're disposing it for less than market value. And so then you have to put a notice in the central register. It's just
Basically, you have to make the case that there's a public
Formality.
purpose.
Okay,
yeah, basically the public purpose is affordable housing. So that allows the town to dispose of it at less than market value.
It's just part of the procurement laws.
but is that, a land disposition agreement isn't disposing of the property, right?
Land disposition could be leasing as well as
Leasing it.
acquisition.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, it's confusing.
You will explain that part to the select
It's
board.
confusing. You have to go to school to understand it.
Literally,
Yeah, okay,
IG school.
yeah. Okay, great. Here we are.
Okay.
The property management experience is duplicated
Yeah.
in the first column there.
And can we go back one page?
Sure.
Right there. C says quit claim deed. This isn't a quit claim deed.
Yeah, it's a treasurer's deed. Yep.
Okay. Right, and I think you all got the email that Mike looked into it, and town council felt that the process of trying to change it to a quitclaim deed was very
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
Yeah. Thank you for looking into it, though.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, so, yeah, so just in that first column, developer experience and capacity,
Yeah.
property management is duplicated.
yeah, took that out.
You know, in light of our discussion regarding septic, it says the highly advantageous has experience with private septic. Do we want to add something with private and public?
No matter what, it won't be public. Well,
Well, what would you call it?
it depends who owns it.
It would still be a private
Well,
septic.
private, it's a wastewater treatment system, would still be, probably just be considered as not I don't think that would be considered public. I don't think they need to be experienced with that anyway.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so here we are at affordability. So you want to change the advantageous to something more than 50?
It's up to you guys. You know how I feel.
Or we could change the unacceptable to, no, never mind, less than 50, okay. Sure, I mean,
We could do 70.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good solution.
Yeah, makes me happy.
Good catch, Jan.
Oh, was there one, let's see.
And I still hadn't filled in the infrastructure and green design because
Oh, okay,
I still don't know which way that's going. I think I have a better, I'll draft it now. I think I have a better idea of where you want to go with it.
that would be putting the things under the unacceptable, advantageous, and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the criteria. I think I can probably fill that in now.
Yeah, there was one, just go back to the one before, there was one developer experience under highly advantageous. It says extensive experience 4 or more projects with private septic. I think what you want is to have that apply to all items, not just the septic. Because if you look under advantageous, it says significant experience 2 or more projects, same thing, private septic. But don't we want?
It's missing a with, it's missing with private septic there, I think.
Yeah.
It's missing the word with.
That's
Either add with or subtract it under highly.
Right, right.
Well,
I'd
you could-
subtract it.
instead of saying with, we could say including private septic.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. Okay.
So this is a.
So you
place
need to
where-
add the word with then in the advantageous column there. In other words, make the equivalent changes and the word with isn't there.
Right.
Right. Okay, so, and there was,
I have one here, Elaine, where it says highly advantageous. The only place that they respect adjacent properties are in the highly advantageous. I don't know what the other 2 people are doing. And I'm not sure what it means, but it seems like it it isn't a differentiator.
Where is that, Gary?
Under
Okay.
site design on the next page, the first, see highly advantageous, the last, it says respects adjacent properties.
Respects adjacent properties.
I mean, I would hope they all would respect adjacent properties. So we could put that under criteria as opposed to a differentiator.
Yeah, you'd put a period after
Criteria.
exceeds all of the criteria, period.
Right. Get rid of the rest.
And
Right,
if you wanted to use respects adjacent property, move it to the left as one of the bullets.
right. There's one open for it.
Right.
And there's two open for it.
Yeah, oh, I see. Yeah.
That sounds like
All
a
right.
good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just added it. Okay, done.
Well, let's see. There's something under. I had a typo somewhere there. There was the word OD instead of, but, or no. Add. No, no.
I spelt complies wrong at one point. And there's a
Yeah.
missing an and. Couple of periods.
And under building design,
Yeah.
let's see, should we say design guidelines instead of design standards?
Oh, yeah, we changed it to guidelines, didn't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Mhm.
That's all that I had anyway.
Right. I didn't understand one thing about the site visit. I think I'm just reading it wrong. About the references. Where is it? A minimum of 3 references, including references from all projects undertaken in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Does that mean the 3 references? How does the 3 references in the all projects undertaken in 10 years? I'm not sure what that means.
Well, if they haven't done 3 in the last 10 years, you have to have a minimum of 3.
Okay, okay.
It's probably worded wrong.
no, I think it,
Yeah, I just wasn't, quite reading it right, I don't think.
Okay.
Okay, got it, yep. Great. Residents were happy.
Yeah, some of that's a little hokey that
Really
one of
big
my
announcement.
former
I love it.
groups added in about how relatively happy the residents were.
yeah, well, I think we can leave that out.
Well, it
Yeah,
says-
I think so too.
Well, it says residents were mostly happy it says residents were not pleased, residents were most happy, residents were happy.
I think we can use better language though around that. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
saw that got carried over from one of my other ones.
Okay, okay. Is there another way of saying that?
What, Jay?
Yeah, we'll say something like residents,
Supportive?
residents contacted, were satisfied, or were,
Positive.
positive and,
Supportive?
supportive.
Mhm.
About resident satisfaction was not met, was met and exceeds
Exceeds, yeah.
Okay.
expectations, or was highly met.
It's a little clinical, but
But happiness is hard to measure, so.
Yeah,
You know it when you got it.
mm,
great. Okay, well that's, whoops, oh, here we go for that.
Ah,
Okay. Design guidelines, Katie, you did such a great job of changing the language around the modern
Okay.
thing.
Mhm.
Now let's see. You're not seeing it yet, right?
Right.
Let me get the sharing window up. Oh, come on.
Look really good.
There. Why am I having trouble getting that up there?
Are you pulling that up? Jim Dixon, Jim Hood, are you still here?
Yes,
Any update on the water?
nothing. Both Mike and I were looking at the state website regarding Mass Works, and there's been no additional information shared.
Did it again. I did it again. I lost everybody.
There it is.
Go.
There it is.
Got it.
I never know if I'm gonna get it or not. Okay. All right. I just noticed two little typos were still in there. And I don't know if at this point we can change this, Katie, or if you wanna do the little changes. We still have the word pattern instead of pattern.
Oh, gotta grab that.
Yeah, maintain the New England feeling, still says, unless that's a term. Needs to say pattern.
Mm-hmm. Got that.
Did anybody have any general things you wanted to say before we just do a couple of the little, do it page by page? Okay. Let's see, is this, whoops. Is that better or worse?
I can't read it very well.
Okay, so now I'll go back to what
Sorry.
that's okay, yeah.
Elaine, you're getting good at this.
No. I'm sweating, I tell you, when I do these meetings. Is it gonna work or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't have anything until a little typo way under site landscape and guidelines. I love looking at these pictures.
Yeah.
And thank you for getting the ones out that we got out.
Yeah, yeah, this was
Modern house was better.
And cropped.
yeah.
A nice picture of Deck 2, who Deck 1.
Yeah, made it look better than,
Did you do that, Elaine?
no, Katie must have done that.
Oh,
So on page 4, I thought we thought that that was not a great example. The picture,
Well, we
I'm
cropped-
sorry, it's on page 6.
That's, oh,
oh yeah, we didn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we were gonna crop it just to the door, right?
That's what the only purpose was to emphasize the door.
I thought that was what we decided with the Bradford. We cropped it to show the dormer. I didn't know that we did this one, but it's okay.
So I think we just have Jerry House in there.
I really like what you did and said here, just to give
Yeah.
that flavor, you know? of-
Yeah.
Now, my next one is only a comment about, we are talking about affordable housing.
Yep.
Is that the sea view, I mean, I understand this is
It's a little much, yeah.
it's about windows, but it really does seem out of place with,
Yeah, I'd agree.
Hmm. Yeah.
Elaine and I decided can we put in the RFP that there would be a rooftop garden because from the top of there, you're going to have a nice view.
It could look like this. It could look like this. So
Widow's Walk.
I just think,
I said that.
I think it's inspiring. It doesn't, you know, I like,
Yeah, I'd leave it in.
you
I'd
know,
leave it in.
why not? It's just inspiring. You know, it's just.
Okay, I don't feel.
Just
I don't-
Nobody is going to get
I
a
don't
set of
feel
sliders
strongly
like
about it.
that.
It just seemed out of place. with the-
Yeah, well, you know, these architects, the more windows, the merrier.
Not necessarily, pal.
I'm
I
pulling,
remember that.
I'm pulling your chain.
I know, I know.
Making me dizzy.
I love
That
this.
was a great idea to.
I love that for
that.
dormers. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you really just did the
Nice job, Katie.
right thing
Yeah.
there.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll make those changes. You said you had one other typo.
Yeah, I think it's on this
In
page.
site, yeah, this page.
The space must be adapted. It's the first paragraph. It says landscaping of the space must be adapted. So it's
Okay.
be adapted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the next to last paragraph on that page, I think.
Oh, edge of the pavement. So it's OD instead of
Yeah.
OF.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of the pavement.
Wait, could you say that one more time?
It's the next to last paragraph that begins with tree location and spacing. And the very last three words, it says the edge odd the pavement. So it just should be above. And I know that when this goes to the select board, we're going to have a ton of different recommendations for tree shade species. I'm a little worried when this goes to the select board, they're going to want to just like totally. I think we have to make sure it's for inspiration and ideas, but I think
Yeah, I
this,
mean, that's what I was going to say before.
this might get more comment than the RFP.
I bet you it will.
As long as it's understood that this is simply, they're simply examples and not meant to be in any way prescriptive or.
It's a guideline.
Guidelines, it's what it says, yeah.
And
Just
I
make
think
sure you, just make sure you take the word draft out anyway you show it.
Yeah.
Oh, drafted March 220, yeah.
No, so it sends a message that it's not a draft.
Yeah.
Okay,
You-
okay, yes.
Do you want it to be more explicit on this first page of how it is just for inspiration? Like a note about that.
Well, you have inspirations in quotation marks. Says the
Right.
guidelines present idea or I don't know.
Okay.
I think it just looks great and gives a really nice feel for the town, and
Yeah,
we
agreed.
want everybody that lives in town to live this way. Yeah,
I'll make those changes this week then.
great, thank you. Good job. We had a housing authority meeting this morning, and one of our members reminded us that a year ago, we were just asking for the land. So we've done a lot of work
Yeah, definitely.
in the past year. Okay, so nothing more about the water. Jim, right? Oh, okay.
Right.
Why do I lose you when I do this? I do stop sharing. Stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quick question for Jay, just relative to this, the design guidelines. It's, the cover says Wellfleet Design Guidelines. Would it make more sense to make it architectural design guidelines?
No, I think design lines is okay. But, instead of saying Wellfleet, I might consider saying Lawrence Road.
This road, yeah.
Yeah.
Design guidelines.
Well, we may
Yeah.
want to use these for other uses going forward.
They can just take out the name and use it.
You got me there, Mike. I don't know.
All right, no worries.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was wondering whether we should just have it specific to the project, just.
Yeah.
That's what
We can
Katie
stay out
has in
of
the
trouble
footer.
that way. We can stay out of trouble if we make it.
Right. I think that's
Katie already has that in the footer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right,
But I'll change the title there.
okay. All right, so we just have these small corrections. We want to review it one more time before we pass it up the chain.
No,
Well, if we do that, I don't think we need a full meeting of
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
At this point, where's it going next, Mike? To town council?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I think from an RFP perspective, I think I'd like to have Dan put eyes on it as Chief Procurement Officer.
Okay,
And
fine.
then from there, we could send it to the select board for their okay.
I thought,
Kathleen, would you agree with that?
does it go to council before the select board or after?
Oh, actually, yeah, we may, I'll talk to Dan about that, but I'm not sure it needs to go to legal, but I'll check with Dan.
I'd also suggest if we can avoid legal at this point, we should,
Okay.
our legal counsel is to the wall right now.
Yeah.
So if we don't need to involve them, let's not, but
Yeah, I don't think we will, but I'll defer to Dan on it.
Yeah, what do you think, Laura? Is that usually part of the process?
It's town by town.
Okay,
It depends.
Laura, do you have counsel that we could utilize at this point?
No, our main business is lending money. So our general counsel's a little busy.
and so Mike, what, in terms of getting this to the select board, reviewing it with them, how do you suggest we go about that when the time comes?
Well, I guess I also, appreciate Kathleen's input on this as well. Timing wise, especially as it relates to town meeting and the fact that we're kind of hanging on for that to some degree.
Mhm.
What do you think, Kathleen?
I think that I'd like to see it done sooner than later. I'd also like to see this as a work meeting for the Board of Selectmen so that it's not part of a larger agenda, but just the RFP and all the pages that we've just gone through is one meeting, one work meeting for the Board of Selectmen. Having said that, I'd like to see it happen between now and the 15th of May.
Do you think it's going to require that in terms of, do you think they're going to, kind of analyze and, redo all this work or?
I think you should expect the unexpected there. So yeah. Yeah.
You know what, Mike? It's going to take you a fair amount of effort to put all the attachments together too. And should you have those ready before you send it to the board?
I would think probably that would make sense.
Yeah.
Just
so
want
I
to see
think-
what our
We
attachments
have a
are.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just gathering them.
if we clean up the document and put all the supporting materials together in the next, whatever, week, 10 days, then we could send it to the select board. We would review it one last time online and then send it in. Does that make sense?
Yes. I agree.
Can I suggest that you review it and just send me any edits and not meet again?
Yes,
And I'll make a-
I'm saying the same thing, that we do it online, that
Okay.
we just email it around and people can make their comments.
Yep, and then just send me any of your comments. I'll do a final copy and send it out.
Great.
Good.
Wonderful.
So if our goal is to have this done in 2 weeks' time, is that realistic?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see a rating. Why not?
Okay, so we would get it to the select board,
This goes to Dan
to
first.
Dan, all right. By when, Mike? What's a realistic?
Well, that's within that 2-week period. I think I can hand it to him. It's a question of, how quickly he'll get to turn it around. I think I'd like to see if maybe Kathleen can propose whether now or later, a date that makes sense from the select board perspective, when she would want to see a meeting for that.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll suggest to the board members that we do a middle of the day work meeting on just this. Not attach it to a larger agenda. I think my last select board meeting this past Tuesday night was difficult enough to get through, so.
Okay.
So Kathleen, in May, I'm looking at my calendar. When is the first select board meeting scheduled? Either the 5th or the 12th?
Hang on, Gary. Our next Board of Selectmen meeting, our first Board of Selectmen meeting in May is the 12th, and the
12th.
next
So
one is the 26th.
Can we,
So I'd
I
like,
mean,
yeah,
if we could shoot for the 12th, and then our task force could be available to answer questions?
right, but that's a regular select board meeting. I'm suggesting that I put out as a future agenda to our board that we do a work meeting around the
Before
15th.
maybe, the 5th.
The 5th then?
What about the 5th?
Yeah,
Or in between the 12th and the 26th, but 5th,
or, yeah, in between the 12th and the 26th would work too, Jan.
Yeah. But that wouldn't be before the 5th, mid-May, so you wanted it before mid-May. I
Well-
like that. I like that idea.
If I can get it in the middle of May, that's great. And again, keep in mind that tentatively June 1st is we're looking at a town meeting.
okay.
So why don't we shoot for Cinco de Mayo?
What date is that, Gary?
May 5th.
May 5th,
Oh, we thought.
All right,
With
May
Marguerite.
5th.
with margaritas.
Yeah.
And hopefully the board members can agree to a work meeting.
And would we envision our whole task force participating in that?
Yes,
Strengthen numbers? Yes.
yes.
if possible.
Probably be down in the downstairs basement room at Town Hall. If we
No,
can have
probably
it
gonna be
there.
virtual
Oh,
Virtual.
yeah, that's true.
unless things
Maybe it's-
change by May 4th. I'm
Yeah.
not sure it will.
No.
I don't know, wishful thinking on my part, slap me. I don't know what happened there. It'll be a Zoom meeting, sorry.
Okay, great. Oh, good show. Well done.
Thank you, Laura and Katie. That's,
Yeah,
we wouldn't have gotten here without you.
Great job, Katie, on the
Thank you.
guidelines. Looked really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
You can take the rest of the afternoon off.
I'd like to thank Laura also for all that effort. She's put in a lot of this.
Yay,
All those edits
Laura.
are, it's a
Hey,
lot of
Laura.
work. Those edits.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How many drafts, Laura? How many
Bye-bye.
drafts?
How many drafts?
Yeah.
Let's see.
250.
You're looking in our files.
I'm looking in our files.
Yeah.
I think I had them. It looks like, I can't count them all. Somewhere
Five,
around
6?
12, I think.
Oh, my God.
I just started throwing in the way. It was so confusing, so. Great. All right, well, thank you everyone so much. We'll look forward to sending out the final things by email and getting your responses to Laura.
Great.
All right,
Great.
thank you all.
Thank you, see you, everybody.
All right,
Take
thank
care,
you.
stay
Take
healthy.
care.
Bye-bye.